want to look like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They don't want to talk like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But one thing they do want to do, they want to be a bad boy. That is what is on their lips. I want to be a bad boy today. And this is the answer that you get from them, my dear Islam brothers. They want to be a bad boy and do what? Drive a fat sports car. This is what's happening in our communities. We need to open our eyes and realize what the situation's out there. This is what Dawat Islami does. It highlights the problem and it asks you, is this not happening in your community? Is this not happening in your area? What do these boys want to do? They want to be a bad boy and they want to wear a funky hat. They want to be a bad boy and they don't want to go to the masjid. They want to go to the snooker club. They want to be a bad boy and they want to go out with girls. They want to go out clubbing with the girls. They want to be a bad boy and they want to wear the drop down jeans. They want to be a bad boy and they don't want to wear the Imam Sharif. They got fat chains around their neck. This is what they're doing. They want to be a bad boy, my dear Islam brothers, and chill out on the street corners. When you want to be a bad boy, you get a reputation of being a bad boy, then you have to live up to it and you get bad habits. This is what's happening. Your mom, your dad, they spent all those years raising you as a Muslim. The Ustad Sahib, he taught you about Islam. All these things happen to you, but yet today you ask you and you want to be a bad boy. You hang out with bad boys and think bad things will happen, my dear Islam brothers. It's reality, my dear Islam brothers. You pick up these bad habits and bad habits are difficult to get rid of. Listen to one of these, my dear Islam brothers. The one that sits next to drinkers. And sometimes we hear people and they say, I'm only sitting next to drinkers. You sit next to people that have the pints, that have the lager. Men that there used to be a man who used to remain in the company of alcoholics. He used to sit with them. That's what he's doing. He's not drinking the lager. He's not drinking the alcohol. He's only sitting with these people. When he was said that he was on his deathbed, he was about to die. Someone tried to make him recite the kalima by reminding him. And he replied, you know what he replied? He wasn't reciting the kalima. But he said, you drink and you give me some more. You drink and you give me some more. This was on his lips. That person died without reciting the kalima. Imagine this is the terrible sin of the consequences of just sitting with the drinkers. Imagine that person that drinks alcohol. Imagine that person that drinks sharab. Allah Azza wa Jal swears by His glory and greatness. If any of my servant of mine drinks even a single sip of alcohol, then it was stated, I will make him drink likewise of how much is drunk from the boiling waters of hell. My dear brothers, the bad habits also include listening to the beats, listening to the music, listening to the tracks, my dear brothers. And we see when we go down Dundee Road and you see brothers sitting there, the music's blasting and they're nodding their head away to it. They're nodding away to the beats. How many times have we seen when you drive down and you come in late at night for some valid reason? If you read the Madinah Map card, it says, go home 2 hours after Isha for a valid reason. If you go home late, you see young brothers are standing on the roads late at night, just around one car, and the music's blasting away, and they're standing around the car and they're listening to music. Sayyidina Anas radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that the blessed Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if anyone sits near a singer and listens to her, Allah Azza wa Jal will pour molten lead into his ears on the day of resurrection. My dear brothers, this may not shake us. Nothing shakes us today. So what if this is going to happen? We don't care. This doesn't scare us. We're not scared. Nothing's going to change us. Let him do the bayan. After when I go home, I'm still going to be the same. I'm still going to be dancing. I'm still going to listen to the music. I'm going to do all these things. Let him say what he says. I'm going to go away. Think back to that day when earthquake struck. Think back to that day when the Zameen of Kashmir was struck by an earthquake. When in Pakistan, that massive earthquake struck. Picture that moment back. Think back to 2005. Think back to that day when you saw it on the TV, you saw on the picture, you saw the internet, when that same earth, those same houses, they were turned upside down. Think back to that day. It stated that inside one of those buildings, inside one of those towers in Islamabad, there was a body, there was a body found, there was a head found. And somebody says that we just found the head. We couldn't find the body. Just the head was in front of us. And we looked around, we looked through all the rubble, we tried to find the body for this head. And they go, we couldn't locate it. We looked everywhere. And he goes, after a while somebody came in. And they said, we recognize this head. They said, this is the same head of the person we recognize, we know who this person is. And let me tell you what he used to do. He said, when we heard the azan coming from the masjid, when the azan was being said from the masjid, you know what he used to do? He used to turn the volume of his music up. And this is his end today. This is his terrible end. Another bad habit the youngsters have got grip with today is making sure we look sick. We look sick. This is the word that we're using. We look sick. Hence, we have the right clothes. We have the right look. We have the right hair. All this for who? We do all these things. It's not for our mom. We're not making our hair look sick for our mom, for our dad. We're not putting on these clothes to make it sick for our mom and dad. Look sick for who? Look sick for the girls. That's the reality, my dear Israel brothers. This is what's happening out there. And when somebody says, this girl's mentioned your name, you see that person's face, it all lights up. As soon as you say such and such girl's mentioned your name, his head hits the cloud. And this is what's going outside, my dear Israel brothers. They're daydreaming, the mom will call them, they're in their own little bubble, thinking about a girl. And this is the problem that we've got. Today, my dear Israel brothers, you want to spend time looking at girls, just remember for a few seconds, you look at that girl. For a few seconds, you get satisfaction. But remember, that sin is recorded into your book of deeds. And you wait for that day. You wait for that day, you are punished for that sin. Men who look at women and women who look at men lustfully, my dear Israel brothers, remember, look at your weak bodies and remember, frighten yourself with this, the punishment of Allah. There's a long hadith in Shadow Sudur that stated that the Holy Prophet ﷺ saying, I saw people with nails hammered in their eyes and inquired, who are these people? Why have they got nails hammered in their eyes? It was told, they looked at what you do not look at and they listened to what you do not listen to. These delicate eyes, somebody put something into your eyes, my dear Israel brothers. You go to the next person, what's in my eye? It's hurting me, take it out. But what's going to happen to us on that day? When nails are hammered into your eyes. In the UK, we know how hard it is. As soon as we leave the gathering, as soon as you walk down, we know what's happening outside. Unless you do kufr and Medina of the eyes, that's why Madri channel don't just say it. Unless you do kufr and Medina of the eyes, unless you lower your gaze, you know what's going to happen when you go to Asda. You know what's going to happen when you go shopping. You know what's going to happen when you're walking down the road. These eyes that come from the masjid, you've read your salah, but these eyes, they will commit sin straight away. Imam Ahmad recorded Abu Umama saying that a young man, he came to the Prophet ﷺ, he said, oh messenger, give me permission to commit zina. Give me permission to have unlawful sex. The people around him, they rebuked him, they said, what are you saying, what are you doing? They said all these things to him. And the Prophet ﷺ, they said, come here, come closer. The young man, he came to him, and the Holy Prophet ﷺ, they said, sit down. They said, sit down here. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said, would you like this unlawful sex for your mother? He said, no, by Allah, may I be ransomed for you. The Prophet ﷺ said, neither do people like it for their mothers. The Prophet ﷺ said, would you like it for your daughter? He said, no, may I be ransomed for you. The Prophet ﷺ said, neither people nor people like it for their daughters. The Prophet ﷺ said, would you like it for your sister? Again he said, no. The Prophet ﷺ said, neither people like it for their sisters. The Prophet ﷺ said, would you like it for your paternal aunt? He said, no. The Prophet ﷺ said, neither people like it for their aunts. The Prophet ﷺ asked, would you like it for your paternal aunt? Again he replied, no. The Prophet ﷺ said, people don't like it for their paternal aunts. My dear Israel brothers, the Prophet ﷺ put his hand on him and said, oh Allah, forgive the sin, purify his heart and guard his chastity. After that, that young man, he never wanted to commit zina again. And he hated zina so much that he never paid attention to it of that nature. Today we cannot even smile for our parents. We got no time. How much does a smile cost? It doesn't cost $9.99. We cannot even smile for our parents. All day our parents, they're waiting for that smile. Remember, you was a little child. They used to love it when you used to smile. Your children, when they're little, they'll remember their first smile. He grew up on this day, he smiled. I took a boy from the nursery, I took him to the nursery, he smiled. But we got no smile for our mom and dad. We got nothing. But all day, as soon as the girls walk past, then this same mouth, this same face, it doesn't get tired of smiling. My dear friends, brothers, we have no money to buy our parents a gift. We got no money to buy them a gift. We got no money to give them anything. But the girl in our class, the girl at university, the girl that walks down the road, the girl in our office, we got plenty of money to buy her a gift. We got plenty of money to have time for her. And with Valentine's Day coming up, astaghfirullah, how much Muslims are buying gifts? The Valentine's coming up, here's a card, here's a rose. Muslims, girls and boys giving each other gifts. My dear brothers, where is the money come from now? Where have you pulled out this smile from now? Now you got plenty of money to spend on haram. On the day of judgment, an adulterer, my dear son, but the one that commits zina will be given a shirt and will be made out of fire. Just like we see the fire there, that fire is nothing. The fire of the akhirah is 70 times more hotter. This shirt will be made out of fire. You'll be said, wear this fire. You'll be wrapped around in chains made out of fire and you'll be dragged into the fire. Listen to this. Hazrat Luqman radiallahu ta'ala an said, son, instead of chasing a woman, don't chase after a woman. Go chase after a lion, my dear sisters and brothers, because if the lion turns, your life will go. If the woman turns, this iman inside us will go. My dear sisters and brothers, just imagine, you borrow a book from the library. We've all been there, we've all students. We borrow a book from the library. When you take it back, you have to take it back. They only give it to you for how long? Week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. You have to take it back. It's your entrustment to take that book back. Imagine you cut out all those pages, all those nice pages in the book. You cut out all those pages. You cut out all the middle pages, and then you take that book back. What they're going to say to you? They're going to be happy with you. Thank you for cutting out our pages. They're not. They're going to fine you. They're going to give you a fine. They're going to punish you. You are going to be punished for bringing that book like that. So why is it that these bad boy habits we got today, my dear sisters and brothers? These bad boy habits, why are we destroying this body we've been given as an entrustment? This body that Allah has blessed us with, that on the day of judgment it's going to speak against us. This tongue, we blag it today, we lie today. If our mom says where you been, we lie. If our dad says we lie, this tongue's going to be stamped. You be quiet today. Your hands are going to speak, your feet are going to speak, your limbs are going to speak. This is what you used to do with me in the dunya. We think we do whatever we want. It's our body, we only live once. Let me enjoy this life. We think this is the answer. My dear sisters and brothers, this life that we got, if we're standing down the corners, we're smoking the skunk, we're smoking the weed, we're smoking the ganja, we're smoking the hookahs, we're smoking the grass, we're smoking the leaf, we're smoking the crack, we're smoking the smack, we're smoking the pot, we're smoking the herbs. All this we're doing, we're smoking the wacky backy, and we think we can do whatever we want. All these drugs we are taking into our body. Just think to yourself, my dear sisters and brothers, what's going to happen to us? What's going to happen to us? And then you hear brothers, they say it's fine to sell drugs. Selling drugs, destroying the people's life, destroying others' lives, destroying the community. And we think that it's fine to do that. My dear sisters and brothers, Islam brother says that once he went to somebody's house. He said when he was going to somebody's house, the reason he was going, because somebody had died in his family. As you could imagine, when someone dies and you go into their house, you can expect somebody to be sad. You can expect people to be crying. You can expect people to be weeping. But he said it was quite the opposite. He goes, I was amazed, it was quite the opposite. He goes, the brothers, the people, the family members, you know, they're having a laugh and a joke. He goes, they were sitting there, they were laughing, they were joking. He goes, when I went inside, I sat there. And he goes, they were talking, you know what they were talking about? They weren't talking about death. They've just seen death in front of them. They weren't talking about death. They were talking about which area is selling the most drugs. Is it my area or is it your area? Which area's got the most trade? And then the family members, they were justifying this. You know, people were sitting there, they're thinking, what's going on? And then they were saying that, you know, it's fine to sell drugs. It's okay to sell drugs. There's a need out there. People want drugs. When youngsters want drugs, we need to give it to them. And this was them justifying themselves. Listen to the hadith, Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, if someone earns haram wealth and he spends it, there will be no blessings in it. And if he gives it away in charity, with the money, the charity, it will not be accepted. And if he leaves it behind and dies, this will be a provision of him going to hell. There's no benefit. There's no benefit whatsoever in earning haram. My dear sisters and brothers, once the sister of a person, it's stated that a sister of a person, his sister died. And then, as you expect, he went to bury her. But while he was burying her, what happened? His wallet had fallen into the grave. And he began digging for it, trying to retrieve his wallet. Imagine that, as I pictured that. You know, somebody's a grave, how scary is it? He was scared to go to the graveyard. He went, he buried his sister, and his wallet fell in there. We probably think to ourselves, leave it. You know, we're not going to bring that wallet back. But it's there, he's digging up the grave. You know, all that fear, you're probably thinking to yourself. And he goes, he was shocked to see that his sister's grave, it was filled with flames. There was flames inside his grave. He said he quickly covered up the grave and he ran to his mother. He went crying to his mother. He said to his mother said, why are you crying? He said, tell me the actions of my sister. What did she used to do? His mother, she also began to cry. She also started to cry. And she said to her, you know, mother, what did my sister do? Why is there fire in a grave? I saw flames in a grave. The mother said, your sister was very good. She used to do good things. But one thing, she had a bad habit. Her bad habit was she used to read her salah late. She used to offer her salah late, and this was the consequences. My dear sisters and brothers, she used to offer her salah, but she used to read it late. What about all those Islamic brothers that don't even offer their salah? What's going to happen to them, my dear sisters and brothers? Just think, you don't even offer your namaz. What's going to be your condition? My dear son brothers, let me mention to you a story of a bad boy, the summary of a bad boy. He said, in my own words, I'll try putting this across to you. He said I was a bad boy, and he goes, I joined a local gang. He goes, when I joined this local gang, I became even badder. He goes, I used to start fights on purpose. When you're walking down the road and you see somebody, they say, what are you looking at me for? What are you looking at me for? And as soon as you reply, they'll start to fight with you. As soon as you say something, they'll come and push you. They'll come and shove you. They'll come and punch you. He goes, I was that type of bad boy. He goes, as soon as something was said to me, I used to kick off a fight. He goes, I used to dress like a bad boy. I used to walk like a bad boy. As soon as a new fashion, a new style comes out, I was the first to get it. He goes, forget one clothes. I used to change my clothes about 6-7 times a day. And this is what I used to do. He goes, what happened is I used to come late at night. He goes, my dad had died. Because my father has passed away, and my mother used to say to me, son, please don't do this. Son, look, listen, you need to change your life. He goes, I used to give her a lip back. I used to tell her to be quiet. I used to talk back to her. He goes, this was the type of person I used to be. But he goes, one day, what happened to me? He goes, I was so lucky. He goes, I was walking down the road, and he goes, who did I meet? Who did I meet? I met a brother of Dawud Islami. He goes, I met a brother of Dawud Islami, and he didn't ask me for anything, but he gave me something. He goes, he gave me a booklet. He goes, a small booklet that you could most likely get from a maktab for 10-20 pence. 10-20 pence, he goes, he gave it to me. He goes, at the moment, I probably didn't want to read it. He goes, I went home, I started to read that booklet, and he goes, it changed me. He goes, by reading that booklet, I wanted to go to the local masjid. He goes, when I went to the local masjid, another brother I saw there, who was similarly dressed. He goes, he was given a dars, and he goes, I was impressed by him. Why? He was dressed simply. He talked simply. He ate simply. Because I was very impressed by him. Because I made friends with him. Because I used to go to his house, I used to speak to him. And he goes, I regularly used to meet him. He goes, that same brother who's about to get married. He goes, he's about to get married soon. But he goes, I realized he didn't have money. He was a poor person. But he goes, he never ever asked for anything. He never asked me for money. He never asked for help from anybody else. He goes, I was even more impressed. He goes, the same brother, he invited me to a Madani Kafala. He goes, why don't you travel on a Madani Kafla for 3 days? And remember, this boy is a gangster. We heard how bad he was. He goes, he traveled on a 3-day Madani Kafla. When he came back, he was changed so much. He was changed so much that he was now the area Nigran of his area, my dear brothers. This is what Dawud Islami does for you. If you think, what does Dawud Islami do? Dawud Islami changes a bad boy into an Ashiq Rasul. This is what Dawud Islami does. Dawud Islami changes a bad boy into a scholar. What does Dawud Islami do? Dawud Islami changes a bad boy into an imam of a masjid. Dawud Islami, it changes a bad boy into a namazi. This is what Dawud Islami is doing. Dawud Islami changes a bad boy into a muballigh that stands in front of other people and starts to preach. My dear Islam brothers, Dawud Islami changes a bad boy into a mufti. This is what's happening, and we're still scratching our heads and thinking, wow, these brothers with green turbans, what are they doing? This is what Dawud Islam is doing, not just here in Dudley Road, not just here in Wilson Green, but all around the world. This is what Dawud Islam is doing, my dear Islam brothers. And Dawud Islami is such a blessing from Allah that me and you could never ever realize it. A bad boy that used to sell drugs. Youngsters that used to carry drugs in their pocket. Now, because of Dawud Islami, they are carrying the Madani in a math card in their pocket. This is what Dawud Islami has done for them. My dear Islam brothers, concluding the bayan to an end, I'll have the privilege of mentioning the Sunnah and the Islamic manners. The Prophet ﷺ said, the one who loves my Sunnah, he loves me, and the one that loves me will be with me on the day of judgment. My dear Islam brothers, be with me in paradise. My dear Islam brothers, it's Sunnah to eat on a dastakhan. This is the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Now let's question ourselves. Let's think to ourselves, how much of us we're here to celebrate the meelad of the Prophet ﷺ. We say we love the Prophet ﷺ. We heard that young man, that young boy say, we'll do anything for the Prophet ﷺ. We'll die for the Prophet ﷺ. Can we leave our table for the Prophet ﷺ? That table that we got in our house, that beautiful table, the Prophet ﷺ never ever once in their life ate on a table. What do me and you do? We eat on a table. The Prophet ﷺ ate on a dastakhan. What do me and you eat on a dastakhan? The love, we have to transform this love into practically as well. We have to say, just by saying it, my dear son, but it's not going to make a difference. When we start to act upon the sunnah, when we start to love the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when we start to offer our salah, when we start to look like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when we start to talk and copy the way the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did, then when we pick up the flag and then we go to the julus, then when we say the nara, then it's going to make a change, my dear son, brothers. This is the change that we need to make. It's also stated that if a young scholar is present, imagine there's a young scholar here present, even though there's elderly people, and we start to eat, it's stated that the young scholar should be given first. We should give him the food first. This is the status of a scholar. But what do we want to make our children? This is the status of a scholar, that even though there's all elderly people, the scholar should be given food first. But what do me and you want to make our children? We want to make him the businessman, the lawyer, the barrister, the doctor, the pharmacist, the engineer. We've got our mindset on this. We'll send him away to Harvard, to wherever we want, Oxford. We'll send him away to Huddersfield. We'll send him to Dundee if we can. We'll send him anywhere. 8,000 only a year, 8,000, 9,000. We'll pay that. 12,000, go away, we'll pay it. 15,000, goodbye son, off you go. We'll do that. You need to leave the country. It's okay, off you go. Wave goodbye to him. 3 years, 5 years, you won't see him again. We're prepared to do all these things. We're even prepared to cook meat for him for 1 month. Send him away. Off you go, my son. We'll see you later. We're prepared to do all this, my dear son brothers. But who's prepared to send their son to the Jamiyat of Dawud Islami and make him a scholar of Islam for the future? Are me and you prepared to do that? When have we last thought about that, my dear son brothers? And the Jamiyat, they're not going to charge you all this money. They're absolutely free. And they're Birmingham, in Bradford, all across the UK, all my dear brothers are learning in the Jamiyat of Dawud Islam for free. Scholars, they want to become scholars, my dear brothers. We could do for that for our children. And Media al-Sunnah has changed our thinking, has changed our mindset. All those people that wanted to make their son a doctor and see him graduate and wear a hat, now those same brothers, they want to see their son graduate, but not wear a hat, but wear an Imam Ashrif. That's the difference that Dawud Islam is making. So it's a monthly request that you become affiliated, you become attached to Dawud Islami. My dear brothers, the weekly ijtimas of Dawud Islami take place. It's a humble request that you come to the ijtimas, the weekly ijtima of Dawud Islami, every Thursday at 7:30 in Kanzul Imam Masjid, Tipton. Make the intention today, make good intentions that inshallah, look, we're here, when we go to a birthday, we're going to take a gift. We're not going to take something from a cheap shop. We're going to take something expensive. We're going to take something to give to somebody. And when we want to give the gift to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we're celebrating the Mawlid, the Meelad of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What gift can we give? What about if we make the intention that we're going to go to 12 ijtimas in a row? That we're going to go on to 12 kafle in a row, inshallah. That we're going to fill in the Madani Namat card and 12 in a row we're going to give back to Dawud Islami. What about if we make that intention? Imagine how much change we could make, my dear brothers. My dear brothers, there's an ijtima of Dawud Islami on a regular basis. On a regular basis, every Sunday after Salatul Maghrib at the moment in Dudley Road Masjid. Try to make an intention to come to the ijtima, bring your children as well. And also, my dear brothers, look, we've got all these channels in front of you. But try, my dear brothers, Madani channel. You see on Madani channel that how much lives are being changed due to Madani channel. We get so much phone calls from people and they say, because of Madani channel, my son has become better. Because of Madani channel, I've become a namazi. Because of Madani channel, I watched it and I've become a scholar. Because of Madani channel, I watched it and now my son's doing a mufti course. Madani channel, but at home, we're doing this, but again, this finger, it can't stay still. We put it on 838 and then we have to check what's the score in the cricket. We put it on 838, then we have to check what's the score of football. And as soon as we leave Madani channel, we see the sins that are surrounding us. So make another intention that inshallah we're going to try to watch Madani channel as much as possible. Again, all these good intentions, may Allah Azza wa Jal give us the ability to act upon them. If I've made any mistakes, may Allah Azza wa Jal forgive me for my mistakes. Ameen. Bijahi Nabil Ameen. Sallu ala al-Habib. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.